Have you heard of Toyotomi Hideyoshi? He was born with almost none of the advantages that usually created power in the Sengoku period. He did not begin as the heir of a great warrior house. He did not inherit a famous domain. Later tradition places his origins close to the peasantry, and even if the details are debated, the meaning of the story is clear. Hideyoshi rose from very low status to the highest political position in Japan. That rise is why he remains so fascinating. Hideyoshi's life shows that the Sengoku period was violent, but also unusually fluid. When old structures weakened, talent could move. A man who was clever, fast, useful, and lucky could climb beyond expectations. Hideyoshi became exactly that kind of man. He entered the service of Oda Nobunaga, and that relationship changed everything. Nobunaga needed people who could solve problems. Hideyoshi was not simply brave. He was adaptable. He could build, negotiate, persuade, organize, and move quickly. In a world where many warriors were trapped by pride and lineage, Hideyoshi made usefulness into a weapon. This was his first great talent. He understood people. Nobunaga changed Japan through force, speed, and a willingness to break old authority. Hideyoshi learned from that, but his own gift was political touch. He could read a room. He could turn enemies into allies. He could reward, flatter, threaten, and absorb. His decisive moment came in 1582. Nobunaga was killed at Hano-ji by Ikechi Mitsuhide. The entire political order Nobunaga had built suddenly shook. Many men could have claimed the future. Hideyoshi moved first. He made a rapid return, defeated Ikechi at Yamazaki, and presented himself as the man who could avenge Nobunaga and continue the project of unification. Speed became legitimacy. From there, Hideyoshi did what Nobunaga had not lived to complete. He defeated rivals, absorbed domains, and forced the remaining great houses into a single order. By the early 1590s, Japan was unified under his command. But Hideyoshi's importance is not only military. He turned conquest into administration. His land surveys measured fields and clarified production. His social policies helped separate warriors from farmers. His control over castles, hostages, marriages, and rank helped make daimyo power manageable. He understood that a unified Japan could not survive on victory alone. It needed rules. This is the mature Hideyoshi, not just the man who rose, but the man who organized. Still, his story has a darker side. Success did not remove insecurity. Hideyoshi had risen outside the normal warrior lineage, and his family succession remained fragile. He needed an heir. He needed permanence. He needed the Toyotomi order to outlive him. His later years show the cost of ambition. The invasions of Korea were enormous military projects that brought suffering abroad and strain at home. They did not create the empire he imagined. Instead, they exposed limits. Hideyoshi's power inside Japan was immense, but even immense power could be misdirected. When he died in 1598, the Toyotomi future was uncertain. His young heir, Hideyori, could not command the same authority. The men who had served Hideyoshi began to calculate. Tokugawa Ieyasu waited, organized, and eventually became the new center of power. So what is Hideyoshi's legacy? He completed the unification of Japan. He showed that talent could rise through a broken age. He created administrative systems that shaped the transition from war to order. But he also left behind a fragile succession and a final ambition that damaged his achievement. That makes him more than a success story. Hideyoshi is a story about opportunity, brilliance, insecurity, and the limits of power. To understand Japan's move from civil war toward early modern order, we have to understand the man who climbed higher than almost anyone thought possible. To understand Hideyoshi, it helps to separate the myth from the mechanism. The myth is easy to remember. A man of humble birth rises higher than anyone expected. It is an irresistible story, but the mechanism is even more interesting. Hideyoshi rose because he repeatedly solved the practical problems that other men could not solve quickly enough. In Nobunaga's service, that meant construction, negotiation, logistics, and persuasion. A successful commander needed more than courage. He needed food delivered, bridges built, messengers trusted, allies reassured, enemies divided, and rewards distributed. Hideyoshi excelled in that space between battlefield and administration. This is why he could become so powerful after Nobunaga's death. When a great leader dies suddenly, politics becomes a race. People wait to see who can act, who can explain events, and who can make others feel that the future has a center. Hideyoshi did all three. His rapid response after Hano-ji was not just a military movement, it was political theater. He turned speed into proof of leadership. Then he did something even harder. He made many different warlords accept a new hierarchy. Some submitted because they were defeated. Some submitted because resistance looked too expensive. Some submitted because Hideyoshi offered rank, security, and a place in the new order. This was one of his greatest skills. He did not need every rival to love him. He needed them to calculate that cooperation was better than destruction. That is a very adult lesson in political history. Power is not only command. Power is arranging the incentives around other people. Hideyoshi built a world where daimyo could keep status, wealth, and honor, but only inside a structure he controlled. His land surveys and social policies were part of that same logic. They made society easier to count, tax, classify, and govern. But systems also reveal anxiety. Hideyoshi's control was impressive because his own position was unusual. He could not become shogun in the traditional way, and his family line was not old enough to feel naturally permanent. The higher he climbed, the more important succession became. A man can conquer a country during his own lifetime, but if the next generation cannot inherit authority, the achievement begins to shake. This makes his final years tragic. The Korean invasions were not a small mistake at the edge of his story. They show how ambition can outgrow political judgment. Inside Japan, Hideyoshi had built a remarkable order. Outside Japan, he reached for a scale of conquest that produced enormous suffering and no stable result. The same confidence that had helped him rise now pushed him beyond the limits of his system. And after his death, those limits became clear. The Toyotomi house had prestige, but prestige was not enough. Powerful men still had armies, territories, and ambitions. Ieyasu did not need to erase Hideyoshi's achievements. He could inherit the problem Hideyoshi had not solved. How to make unity last beyond one extraordinary life. That is why Hideyoshi is such a compelling figure. He is proof that talent can rise in a broken age. He is also proof that personal brilliance and lasting institutions are not the same thing. His life moves upward like a legend, but his legacy asks a harder question. What happens after the genius is gone? That man was Toyotomi Hideyoshi.